Thank you. Mr. Owen Paterson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I will be brief, as I sat and listened carefully to this, but had no intention of speaking at the beginning of it. I'd very much like to follow the lady from Wirral South. She touched on several points, which I entirely agree with. I come to a totally different conclusion. Just very quickly, Mr. Speaker, I think there are three international events that are important. First of all, you have President Tusk's statement that we need to vote on the withdrawal agreement again, but given your stricture, which I totally support, we cannot vote on the same text twice. Does that actually count as changed circumstances? I'm very interested in your thoughts on that, which you might like to consider as a point of order later. Secondly, we've had a report, only a press report, it was put out at 13:06 on the Le Point magazine website, that President Macron has stated that unless, that I think the words were translate were a clear project, France intends to veto any changes. And then there have been interesting reports from a respected BBC journalist that this letter from the Prime Minister has gone out so late, it's too late for some Prime Ministers to consult their legislatures, and they may not even have a chance to have a discussion and a decision this week, which is yet another muddle in this saga. Mr. Speaker, the point I would like to make, and pick up the comments of the lady from Wirral South, talking about populism, and I've said this goodness knows how many times, in the chamber and outside, the conundrum we face is that this House had 3 democratic mandates around the referendum. David Cameron said, if you vote Conservative in 2015, I will give you an in-out referendum. It will be decisive. It won't be advisory, it will be decisive. Could I just make this very important point? And the House of Commons, if I lead the majority, will deliver what the people want. We then had, the time's really short, if I'd like to press on, other people want to speak. We then, to his horror probably, he won the election and had to deliver the referendum. During the processes of the referendum, it was made absolutely clear by the then Foreign Secretary that through the period of the referendum bill going through, that these decisions were being handed by sovereign MPs, were handing back their sovereignty to the people, and that the House would honour what they decided, whatever it was. And it was not advisory, it was a decisive referendum. We then have the referendum results, biggest vote in British history, 17.4 million people voting for the broad slogan of take back control. Questions immediately, what does it actually mean? And the Conservative Party interpreted it to mean leave, and we will honour leave if you vote in the next election, 2017, we will honour that if you leave the single market, leave the customs union, and leave the remit of the European Court of Justice. And that was broadly supported by the Labour Party, which means that 85% of the votes went to the 2 main parties who supported that proposition. And that is over 60% of the seats in this Parliament represented that proposal. And where I pick up with the comments from the lady from Wirral South, I am genuinely worried. This was a huge step by the British people. It was the first time, following a succession of referendums, they'd gone against the wishes of the establishment, the political establishment, the commercial establishment, the media establishment. We'd had the 1975 referendum, the Scottish, Welsh, Northern Ireland referendums, we had the AV referendum, and each time the people had gone along with what the establishment wanted. What we are now wrestling with this afternoon, and the Honourable Lady raises this question of populism, we are really wrestling with how we deliver this. And my contention, Mr. Speaker, and I really mean it, is that I am seriously worried about the long-term damage to the integrity of our institutions. People are writing to me, sending emails. I've been mocked for making a comment. A guy came up to me on the tube and gave me his visiting card. I think for Sheffield Healy has picked me up on this. She can come to my office so I can give her the visiting card of this guy if she wants to see it, saying, please stick to your guns because we depend on you to see it delivered. And I do appeal to both members of both main parties. The Liberal Democrat position is totally honourable, SNP honourable. They've been consistently against this and voted against it and it got, of course, crushed in the general election as a result. But the 2 main parties did really well in the general election. The Prime Minister got the 2nd largest number of votes in history. No, time is really short. I'm just going to finish now. The 2 main parties need to think about this. If there is any sort of extension going beyond next week, That is disastrous for candidates in the Conservative cause. I think it's disastrous for candidates in the Labour cause. The first 100 seats the Labour Party has to win are 78 for Leave, 73 strongly for Leave. So I do think this is an issue where the integrity of the idea of voting is absolutely at stake. And given that the Labour Party is not going to vote with the withdrawal bill, people like me are not going to vote for it, handing over power to make law to 27 countries who are not involved, a position where there is no manner in which a sovereign independent UK could leave, a proposal that breaks up the United Kingdom and creates something appalling called UKNI, is not acceptable to me. Therefore, we are looking, Mr. Speaker, the only solution is to leave with no deal, which is the law of the land. And as Monsieur Barnier said in his statement last night, the vote has not changed that. And to keep trust with the people, I think honourable members opposite, and I know this is not a popular view looking around the chamber, those who are present today, talk about crashing out, bluntly, is lazy. Ask why. I've been to Dover twice in the last 3 weeks. We've had discussions with those in Calais, Monsieur Puissot. They've all said they are prepared. The honourable member for Daventry, answering the UQ, I thought gave some very confident answers that there have been numerous SIs, many of which I've sat on, have gone through. We have Monsieur Barnier saying that there are only 2 more issues, one of which is the budget, which is really not going to touch on Brexit, have only got to be sorted. So I do appeal to members to think hiding behind the mantra of crashing out is lazy. There may be hiccups. The Millennium Bug, there was a lot of preparation. We had exactly the same with the Millennium Bug. Virtually every business was prepared. They just thought other businesses had not prepared. And I think that may well be the case on this occasion. But the damage from a bit of disruption is far less than the huge damage and the risk of populism should we thwart the wishes of the 17.4 million people.
Order.